like one of those Saturdays. The pandemic robbed you of so much. Some of you lost loved ones, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, who aren't able to be here to celebrate with you today. You missed your high school graduation. You started college just as George Floyd was murdered. And there was a reckoning on race. It's natural to wonder if democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? The trail of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. And most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure? When I sit behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, in front of the fireplace across from my desk, I have two busts, one of Dr. King, one of Bobby Kennedy. I often find myself looking at those busts, making decisions. Ask myself, are we living up to what we say we are as a nation? To end racism and poverty? To deliver jobs and justice? To restore our leadership in the world? I look down and see the rosary on my wrist. That was that of my late son he had on him when he died at Walter Reed, and I was with him. I asked myself, what would he say? I know the answer because he told me in his last days. My son knew the days were numbered. The last conversation was, Dad, I'm not afraid, but I'm worried. I'm worried you're going to give up when I go. You're going to give up. We have an expression in the Biden family. When you want someone to know, give your word. You say, look at me. He was lying to me. He said, look at me, Dad. Look at me. He said, give me your word. Give me your word as my father that you will not quit, that you will stay engaged. Promise me, Dad. Stay engaged. Promise me. Promise me. I wrote a book called Promise Me, Dad, not for the public at large, although a lot of people will end up buying it. It's for my grandchildren and great-grandchildren to know who Beau Biden was. The rosary on my wrist, the bust in my office remind me that. Faith asks you to hold on to hope, to move heaven and earth, to make better days. Well, that's my commitment to you, to show you democracy, democracy, democracy is still the way. If black men are being killed in the street, we bear witness. For me, that means to call out the poison of white supremacy, to root out systemic racism. I stood up for George Floyd's family to help create a country. We don't need to have that talk with your son or grandson as they get pulled over. Instead of a trail of broken promises, we're investing more money than ever in black families and black communities. We're reconnecting black neighborhoods cut off by old highways and decades of disinvestment when no one cared about the community. We've delivered checks in pockets to reduce black child poverty, the lowest rate in history. Removing every lead pipe in America so every child can drink clean water without fear of brain damage and can't afford to remove the lead pipes themselves. We're delivering affordable high-speed internet so no child has to sit in a parent's car or do their homework in a parking lot outside of McDonald's. Instead of forcing you to prove you're 10 times better, we're breaking down doors so you have 100 times more opportunities. Good-paying jobs you can raise a family on in your neighborhood. Capital to start small business and loans to buy homes. Health insurance, prescription drugs, housing that's more affordable and accessible. I've walked the picket line and defended the rights of workers. I'm relieving the burden of student debt Many of you have already had the benefit of it, so I can chase your dreams and grow the economy. When the Supreme Court told me I couldn't, I found two other ways to do it. And we were able to do it because it grows the economy. And I, in addition to the original $7 billion investment in HBCUs, I'm investing $16 billion more in our history. Because you're vital to our nation. Most HBCUs don't have the endowments. The jobs of the future require sophisticated laboratories, sophisticated opportunities on campus. We're opening doors so you can walk into a life of generational wealth, to be providers and leaders for your families and communities. Today, record numbers of Black Americans have jobs, health insurance, and more than ever. Democracy is also about hearing and heeding your generation's call to a community free of gun violence and a planet free of climate crisis, and showing your power to change the world. But also know, some of you ask, what is democracy? We can't stop wars that break out and break our hearts. In a democracy, we debate and dissent about America's role in the world. I want to say this very clearly. I support peaceful, nonviolent protest. Your voices should be heard, and I promise you I hear them. I determined to make my administration look like America. I have more African Americans in high places, including on the court, than any president in American history, because I need the